for joining for our final meetup as a user group 3City for this year. And I'm glad to see all of you, some new faces, some our, let's say, loyal members. I'm happy to see all of you here today. And as you know, today the main topic of our meetup is the recap of the reInvent, when we can learn something new. We can learn it, let's say, directly from the Las Vegas, since our speakers just came from reInvent directly. So you'll have great opportunity to talk with them during the networking session or ask them the question. And I would like to show you the short video from the reInvent. It's actually the keynote from the CEO, and then I will put my comment on that. And I would like to put my comment on that because I was really excited. You know, you start watching the reInvent, and the first thing which is coming from the CEO is thank you for the community. Because, guys, all we're building it together. It's not coming from me. It's all coming from your curiosity, from your expertise, from your knowledge, let's say. So I would like to appreciate all of you for all of your support. And hopefully next year we will bring something great together. And thank you. From the community side, we just achieved the 600 of the members on the meetup.com, and on VIA community we have more than 850 people, and it's really a great milestone for us, and hopefully next year we'll grow even more with your support. And again, thank you. And we prepared for the January already. We prepared the workshop with the Daria Petrashka, who is the senior data scientist. As you know, we as a local community, we are not focused only on the local area of the 3City. We are trying to share our knowledge from the 3City to the world. And this is why we're happy about our partnership with the PPNT Gdynia. It's also the great achievement for us for this year, and we invite all of you next January to build from the Daria, who is really great, and you will learn how to bring a serverless text-to-speech application with Amazon Pawel. Especially, we're happy to be supported by the AWS partners like EPAM, the company when actually I'm working on. So if you are interested, if you are looking for the opportunity, you can chat with me. You can talk during the networking with my colleagues, which are also here. So, and join us if you're interested and if you're looking for the next journey in the cloud, or even if you start in your career, EPAM is the support and supporting talents for the over 30 years. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate. And also we're proud to be supported this year. It's our first partnership with the Tameshi. And today we have the Piwosz who is presenting the Tameshi. So if you have any questions and if you will curious about the challenges which they are facing as a partner of the year 2022, so do not hesitate to ask. Tameshi is actually the partner of the migration and acceleration program, and they are distributed across Europe. So Pawel can share with you more details, or you can just subscribe on their LinkedIn or Instagram and get the latest updates during your preferred network. You know, we as the community always have some benefits, and one of them is the AWS credits, and we have them for today as well. If you will be active, if you will ask the questions, you will have the chance to win them. But if you're too shy, as me during my first meetup, you can participate in charity lottery. During the networking session, you will find the QR code. The Szlachetna Paczka is like probably one of the most popular charity programs during the Christmas time in Poland. So we would like to encourage you to participate. And you just need to donate any amount from 10 zlotys, put your name on the paper, and we will draw it as the last part of this event today. And yeah, that's all from my side. Regarding the agenda, we will have the two parts today. In first part from my colleague Oleg Tsoy, and second part is the reinvent recap by Wojciech, Gawronski, and Piwosz. Between these, we will have 5-minute break to refill your power, let's say. And let's start probably. And let me introduce my colleague Oleg, system architect from EPAM. And Oleg is come to us from Berlin, and I'm super excited about that. So please warm welcome to Oleg. And Oleg, the phone is yours.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Very strong password.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm planning to show you not something really standard, but based on the topic, I tried to be more precise with some simple cases and how it became more challenging, and also how to use AI assistants. And actually, I widely used here Copilot, also Amazon Q, and as a part of that one, so I also use ChatGPT, which is commonly used, but I just want you to show the benefits and also the drawbacks during my optimization costs and performance path. So here, as you can see, the plan, actually, which I want to present you. So just imagine, according to the NDA, I cannot actually expose any data, but I just made the highlights actually of the simple architecture taken from the AWS white papers. So mainly it's some kind of personal block which can be accurately extended, and based on the costs, so we can try to optimize it via performance. So let's get it started. So just imagine the case. So you have a personal block running on AWS using CloudFront, S3 also, and that's kind of common stuff, and actually it's quite cheap. And actually you can do it for yourself. It's not really hard to do that. But the second one, so just imagine that you have a use case that you decided to make some self-health tracking. So for example, some health monitor, which you can extend for the dietary options. So actually, the second case was presented as a live tracking application, which is widely used in Frankfurt am Main right now. And some people, they had some challenges, technical ones, so I helped them. And according to that, now they don't have these issues with the costs. And actually, they've been powered by Gen AI somehow. And optimization with AI, so I can show you how and where you can just search for the tips and what options actually it's providing. Actually, we are comparing here the three main gens like ChatGPT, Copilot, and Amazon Q. So, yep, the personal blog. Here you can see the really actually common picture. So generated by one of the AIs, it's like Eraser. And it's not really clear, but more or less it contains all the necessary information here. So we have Route 53, we have CloudFront, we have WAF, we have Certificate Manager, and static web page. Usually you don't have WAF and Certificate Manager in this case, but I just like to make things more secured, just to prevent any DDoS attack. Maybe you have some bad friends who can actually attack your website, just in case. So here is the calculation. So written in Python by me. Of course, it's not counting all the necessary stuff, but the core point here that you have all these spendings. So for example, you have a storage with 1 gigabyte, and you have, for example, data transfer, around 100 requests. Why so less? Because it's only your personal blog. You're posting this one and updating it not really often. And in total, you have AWS certificates, so just to cover that one, and you have AWS Shield Standard, which is in advance, actually it's for free. So you can use it to prevent any DDoS attacks, and it's totally free. It's confirmed. And AWS WAF, so it's not with some custom rules, so 5 rules, for $1 per each, and in total, so it's like $6. Total estimations, it's around 9. In real, it was 12. So because of the load, because at the beginning we just counted 100,000. Just remember, when you're playing with such a toy, just remember that you have also an option Shield Advance. Here is the small note: for advanced DDoS protection, it costs 3,000 per month. Just remember about that, just in case. Yeah. So how the enhancement worked. So mainly, guys, they just asked to create something which was working with Garmin. So I think everyone knows Garmin, because in Poland, a lot of people, they have this kind of smartwatch, and you can run, you can swim, and it's collecting all the data. And actually, it's sending in real time. Unfortunately, according to the data transmission, it was counted as a 2.5 million monthly requests. Unfortunately, they decided to extend it without any estimations, because this estimated price was only for one live unit, and actually it's been provided to them as a POC. And they decided to extend this kind of part by new requirements. So health dashboard with the graph live metrics like weight, heart rate, and also oxygen rate. And after that, they wanted to make a blog post under each user. So this is the core point which I want to highlight here. So as you see it from the simple one, we are also going to the processing of metrics. And for that one, we need API Gateway, Lambda, and DynamoDB. So when you're including DynamoDB here, so probably you will need to count also the volume. And the volume was quite unpredictable, because at the beginning, they counted as a 1 gigabyte. But unfortunately, for 1 gigabyte here even, they need to pay $65 per month. And that was the main issue here, because they started just to actively sell it to every potential user on the pre-sale market, just to connect with their application. Application was not that bad, but in total, their expenses was growing up quite significantly, and they started to think that a lot of users, they started just to think about the price of the subscription, because subscription was taken like a 20% to the normal price. It was somewhere around 100 USD per month, and they just decided to increase it. So, and just imagine that's per month for some health monitor, you're paying $200. Who is going to buy this one? Just raise your hand. No one. Yeah, I told them that's, guys, it's too expensive. You can make it better. And we can make it better, so just you need to think about what exactly can be optimized here. And what they decide to do, actually. So they just decreased the price for 20%, and still in Germany, I think there are a lot of wealthy people who are still buying this. And they started to have issues with the performance. And DynamoDB and API Gateway was the main core point, and Lambda was overpriced. So what we started to do, actually, you will ask me how to optimize it with AI Assistant, and how did I do this? So mainly, I used some core points. So for now, we have mainly all the stuff. And for example, ChatGPT, so we have Copilot. And as a developer, ex-developer, because currently I'm an architect, so I just started to think, actually, how from the code perspective in the Lambda function, so we can just cost optimize it. And I started to ask my Amazon Q, because it's initially inside your AWS ecosystem. It's inside that one, and it knows how your ecosystem works. And I just simply asked, for example, can you just give me an example? How can I just receive this data? And also, with all this source, like CloudFront, S3 static web hosting, certificate manager, and WAF, and DynamoDB with some storage. So how can I just improve it with some sport data? And it just started to generate me an answer. At the beginning, it looks like ChatGPT. And if you compare them, we will go with that later, it's almost similar, but not. It's integrated with your system, and it started to produce your get blog posts. So if you allow it actually to see the function and also the queries. It just shows that one, and finally, actually, it's not exposing anything because it's hiding your information, but still, it's using standard patterns, and also it's using name of your functions. And it shows you how to do that. Now it's doing it better because I was in preview of Pro version not long time ago, like a month ago, and it's doing it better even now. And as you see here, so if it shows me all the patterns, all the standard records, and also it shows me what exactly can be improved here with some examples. And also the good stuff that it has amazing logging. And with the logging, actually, it explains you specifically all the pricing information which needs to be extended. And also it shows you the sources where it takes this information. So you can easily go there, click on that one, and of course, you will be redirected to AWS blog posts. So you don't need to spend money and time, actually, just to search for that one. So you can just easily access it inside this console. And another thing, that's optimization results when after applying all this stuff, I didn't apply all of them because we know that cost optimization and performance optimization, they are usually enemies. And if you want something quick and also something cheap, time to time you will have this question really hard to solve. And here we have a features which suggested and used. So acceleration on S3, optimization object access patterns, improved performance by caching content, it's okay. Configured geo restriction. This one helps a lot, but also it shows me the idea actually to check what kind of traffic we are getting from this application, who currently the user of this application. And I was really happy actually to see that it's not only in Germany it used, and not only in Frankfurt. Some people from also Nigeria, they started to use it for running metrics. And that's why we just allowed them to use it. And actually, we had a contact with them, and they started to pre-sale because it's using there. And that's why, because of the geo restriction, we're not going actually to disable them. But with geo restriction, also you can reduce the unnecessary traffic, for example, which is coming from other countries, which is using, I don't know, for some purposes, but they are not using your application. So, and also configuration, of course, I think cross-origin resource sharing is nothing special. And also set long TTL for static content and short TTL for dynamic content. It helps a lot. And also the last two was the core point. So here it's set up cost anomaly detection alerts because it helps a lot you to understand in case if you're spending too much money for that, because per environment they have some issues and also bottlenecks. And updated billing alerts based on Amazon Q recommendations. So this one actually that's a must right now because it helps you to understand what exactly your billing alerts are settled for right now. And also helps you to understand soft limits and also hard stop limits. Because in case if we're talking about your personal blog, so we're talking about your personal expenses. If we're talking about companies, so we are talking about production load. And I think this too will help you just understand if you're overspending money. So this is the final report calculated by the same Python code. And actually it shows the final report because we initially had on dev environment the initial spending around 255 euros. And actually it was quite a lot because it was only 2 users. 2 users with this smart. And that was quite a lot. And after that, they started to test it. And developers found that with only this third part of all the suggestions, so they start just to save some money. And the total savings, when the final report was submitted, so they enabled all the caching, all the optimized storage class, all the API gate, consolidated APIs part. So they just see that in percentage, you are not saving too much, but in total, you are saving quite a lot of money. So you started from initial spending of 255, and total savings was 18%, which is 45.90. And optimized monthly cost in this case was less than 200, as far as I remember. And according to the breakdown, so according to the calculation here, so you can see that CloudFront, when you're enabling this caching, so you have 5%, you have S3 saving for 6%, and API and WAF, in total, they are around 7%. So as you see, if we are calculating with this such kind of percents, so you have like 12, 15, 11, 6 euros. It's not that much, but just count it, you have only 2 users here. It's dev environment, and how much you will earn actually from the production load. So, yeah, that's the comparison actually which I want to cover. It's like kind of AI battle, because during these suggestions and recommendations, we started to ask actually other people what exactly we can do. And also we started to use some tools, for example, Copilot and ChatGPT on the right side. So as you see, at the beginning, you started to use the normal patterns which you can find in the internet. So it's like S3, CloudFront, Certificate Manager, WAF, DynamoDB, Lambda. Somehow, in these words, if you read it and you totally understand, like some of us, like system engineers who worked with the AWS, you understand what exactly you need to do. With Amazon Q, it's better because you have all the steps described. Even you have a documentation link, so you can go there and just find it. With Copilot, it's better just to, I will explain later, but it's normally to get quite nice recommendations, but it's better to use it for developers. If you're developing your Lambda code, it will be more useful. With ChatGPT, I found it's a bit tricky because time to time, it's training on your personal account. And if you are just starting to push a lot of information in details, it will start to generate more better answer for you. And as we see here, so there is a summary which was provided by me, actually. It's partially my personal opinion, and also partially it's taken also on the personal experience working with these three. So Amazon Q, it's AI-powered code assistant, and it's amazing because it's integrated with AWS ecosystem, so it knows everything. Even they are developing it right now and improving it day by day, and you can see a lot of benefits. For example, some active logging, live logging when you are just actively asking something, so it's just showing you the output, and you can find also some solutions. And it's really cool because you don't need to wait as a Copilot, for example, because you will see what exactly it's doing. So for example, writing tests, but just remember, don't ask really general questions. For example, cover everything with the unit tests. It will do that, but after 20 minutes, maybe, according to your code base, it will start just to try to catch its own tail, because it's really hard to that one understand that it should be stopped at some point. And about Copilot, I can say that so with code suggestions, it's the best choice. If we start to talk about open files and surrounding code, in ED, yes. But if we are talking about cloud, for example, you are just working with the cloud formation, you're trying to do that, it will give you some hints and tips. But if we are talking about something big, for example, your infrastructure should be built in AWS, so probably you will need something more powerful. For example, just compare all of the three. So, and ChatGPT is general purpose conversational AI, so you can use it. And actually, if you compare all of them, so they are all beneficials, and they are like it's really good to use them all, but for some significant purposes. Because with ChatGPT, it's less specialized for AWS cloud infrastructure compared to Amazon Q. But it's really nice to use it. But as you see, according to the pricing, so because it's really meaningful for me, because I love to pay less, actually. I think everyone here too. So for Amazon Q, you are paying nothing if you are free individual developer. But it's only for 4,000 requests, I guess, in total. But it's okay. And if you want to pay more, so you can buy Pro version, which is 19 USD per month. And also for Copilot, so basic subscription, so it's 10 USD per month, which is not that much, and you can actively use it through the Visual Studio. So for example, you can just upload it as an extension. And ChatGPT, so I think everyone knows, it's like around $20 per month, and you can just easily access it, and you can start to use it on the daily manner, even with the mobile app. So like a Copilot and Amazon Q will be available for you only also from the Visual Studio, but also I'm using that one from the mobile phone too. And yeah, so my suggestions actually, so just to use all of three, for some specific goals. For example, define goals with ChatGPT in case if you need to plan your app or extension, or you need to do the improvements, so you need just to do that. You can talk with that one, and it will give you some points and actually to think about and what to focus on, and build AWS infrastructure and query data with Amazon Q. That's the good thing, because it's using all the AWS block and white papers, so which is like good because it's like integrated with the Amazon ecosystem. And you can also fetch all the metrics and also performance metrics and visualize trends through that one, because it's quite nice actually in analyzing data. And yeah, so you need to develop a code with GitHub Copilot, so you can write it, and it will accelerate your development because it's not like a usual autocomplete in your code, so you can find efficient algorithms and you can work with that one. And optimize and iterate, so that's the step which you need to know. And actually for that one, I can personally recommend actually to use all of them, because unfortunately they are not like completed, and at the end you will have that's without you, they cannot make a decision actually what to choose. And still, they are assistants. And that's why you need just to decide what to select and how it will work. And actually after that, you can share some of your feedbacks, and maybe next time solution will be better. And yeah, that's actually all. Thank you very much, and happy upcoming Christmas.
Guys, maybe you have the question. You can raise your hand, and I will bring you a microphone. 1 second.
Hello, my name is Kirill. Can you go back to the slide where you proposed changes for price optimizations?
Mm-hmm. You mean this one? Or
no, the
previous one, right?
Okay. No.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, you can start with that. Even before.
Okay.
No. to the start.
Okay, sorry.
No, after this one. Yeah. Why do the personal block need WAF if you serve your website on a static web page?
Actually, it's a part of the architecture. So that's I just made as a simple representation of that one. So the thing is that they wanted something really simple and secure. And by default, so I just provided them a solution because they have some, according to the requirement, they needed some web application firewall. And that's why they asked actually, is it possible to do that with some custom rules? We used only 5 rules there, and because it's not really expensive. And according to what I remember, that's they asked actually for some custom rules actually, which they already configured. So they know what exactly they want to have inside this WAF, but they wanted also to have that one prepared. So for example, we have the Terraform templates, which we need to actually to provision all these resources, and they have that one prepared, and we are just provided for that one, and that's actually the thing. And here it's optional, that's why it's optional actually, because it was created by the request. It was a requirement. And actually I had this estimation by the history, so yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I have a question not specifically regarding the topic, but why did you choose, for example, ChatGPT and not Claude, which is famously more proficient with the code?
Actually, in Copilot, it's included in configuration of Copilot. So you have Cloud already included. So you have that one check mark, and it's using Cloud 3.5. If you're asking about that one, so it's already there. But
okay,
yeah.
that makes sense. Yes, thank you.
Someone else?
Hello, thank you for presentation. I have pretty weird question. Yeah, AWS has a pretty nice service like helping you with cost saving. You know it, yeah? Did you compare your results with what exactly AWS proposed for you?
Yeah, I compared that one, and actually, thank you for the question, because it's one of the good points which I forgot to mention. Because for that one, so we used actually to analyze all the billings and alerts, and also all the Cost Explorer matrices. And according to that, we see the potential gap which we need to close, and we will save a lot of money. And yeah, but we started just to ask also according to our data. So we start just to teach Amazon Q with our data of the costs, and also just ask for some proposals how to improve it. But yeah, thank you. So it's been used here, but yeah, I didn't mention that one. But as a part of the cost anomaly detection, it was used. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you for presentation. I have. Sorry, I'm not so familiar with Amazon. I'm more Azure guy. So. But sorry for maybe asking stupid questions about Amazon here. But like regarding this cost optimization cost. So I saw the recommendations, and for me it looked like some best practices around using resources like Lambdas, like enabling cache, and so on and so forth. But have you tried to create prompts which could give you more comprehensive, let me say, output, such as I don't know, switch from Lambda to something different, because you have too long execution of Lambda, which increase your cost, for example. Maybe EKS will work better in this situation. Switch from DynamoDB to different technology, and so on. Because, best practices is not something what I would like search from AI. Like, yeah, it gives a good summary for me, but I want to get more detailed insights, deep insights, let me say, from this. So.
Yep, so totally understandable. Actually, we tried that one also. Also tried to play with ECS, because all the applications was migrated there. Actually, now they are on ECS too. So because that application, it was like a starting point, so they didn't want to pay a lot. And actually, they have quite amateur developers who wants to play with all the cloud services. And at that moment, they started just to develop it. But that's like a small POC, actually. It was at the beginning. And then they start just to ask about cost optimization. So we start just to think how to do that. But the future plan, actually, just to migrate to the ECS, because partially they are there. And now they are even thinking about actually something bigger, because they see a big potential to use containers, because containers actually is a must here, because they are getting all the data actually in live mode. And of course, they will not have like 15 or 50 people as a users, and potentially if they want to extend their growth, so of course they will need something. But yeah, about the prompts, so we just started to think about if we do like the same request will be sent to the same AI, to different AI systems, and what will be the result. And actually, if we compare them, still we are making decision what exactly we're going to choose. But yeah, that's how it is right now. Thank you.
Yeah, one more, please.
Okay, thanks. Very interesting one. So you use DynamoDB, and my question is, because to what I understood, it's mostly metrics that you are saving from users and that you are displaying them. Isn't TimeStream, AWS TimeStream, a better choice for this type of data? Did you consider that?
It was considered, but when they started to search for any kind of solution with streaming, so they were scared about the prices at the beginning, because nothing about a free tier to play and nothing to touch. And if you are starting to sell them this opportunity to have this one and it will be easy working, so they will start just to say like, can we at least have not that expensive service for at least 2 users at the beginning, please? But yeah, it was counted as a really expensive solution at that moment, but that's the way actually which we can actually provide. Because for now, they don't have a such big load, and they started to be like a normal company like a couple of months ago. Yeah, when all of this researches was done actually at that moment, and it was like one of the representation how you can use it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Someone else? Nope. Okay, so thanks, Oleg. That was an insightful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, guys, let's have a short break, approximately 10 minutes, just to drink something and refill your power. So thank you, Oleg. Yeah. For our online audience, we will be back in 10 minutes. Uh, Welcome back, everyone. And let me introduce our greatest speaker, Wojciech Gawronski, senior developer. And Piwosz is the solution architect from the Tameshi. Guys will share with us the latest insights from the reInvent. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if I'm on or not. So, thank you for the warm introduction, Anton, and for the great introduction of the reInvent, actually, because Anton did already something that we intentionally wanted to start with, but there is no better way to start than what he already showed us with the keynote. I think the best explanation about reInvent is that this is a learning experience for everybody. And by learning experience, I mean massive learning experience, because throughout the whole reInvent road and during the reInvent, the number of announcements is overwhelming. And the point of recaps is actually to wrap your head around this, play with it, and build something cool with this. Pawel will be my co-host today, and we will try to split. But splitting between 500 announcements is like impossible. So we need to have some housekeeping rules. This deck is massive. At the end, I will tell you what you can do to get actually access to that deck. You will need to create one account. It's called AWS Builder ID. And then it will be available as a PDF for download. And that is oriented around the statuses of those announcements, because from those 500 announcements, there are some which are generally available and those which are preview or coming soon. So we need to make sure what kind of announcements we are talking about. This is color-coded on slides. Also, there is a pre-reInvent time and there is a reInvent time. reInvent is a week-long conference. So like throughout the week, we had 124 announcements, if I recall correctly. Mm-hmm. For the road for reInvent, we had like 500 something. So it's like overwhelming amount. That's why we also splitted this to actually differentiate between. And pre-reInvent, it's not a period when there are worse announcements. It actually, many announcements are much cooler than on the reInvent itself, in my opinion. We made a cut-off date for pre-reInvent, it's October 30th. So it's like a bit over a month. So speaking about those numbers, first things first, throughout the keynote, you heard that 60,000 people on site. And in terms of watching, how many people watched the keynotes, 400K live. Only keynotes were transmitted. They were available for free. So if you couldn't participate, next year will be exactly the same thing. You could actually watch those keynotes live in any time zone. On the reInvent itself, if you will have the opportunity to be there, you have plenty of sessions to choose from, like 900 different sessions. Pawel participated in many of those. I didn't participate this year, but last year it was as great as this, if not better. And a lot of speakers from all around the world, experts and people that are actually building those services that you are using on a daily basis on AWS. So quick summary of all the announcements. As I told you, almost 550 announcements, 400 something before reInvent and 124. And we are having a deck which is having 219 sessions, 19 announcements. We will not cover them today, obviously. We will try to guide and use your guidance what we should cover next. Let's briefly recap when actually those announcements were mentioned. Most of them happens throughout the keynotes. We have 5 different keynotes at the reInvent. My opinion, personal opinion, this is one of the coolest ones in terms of the geekiness. So on Monday, everything starts with Peter DeSantis' keynote, which is hardcore keynote for geeks. A lot of details, internal stuff about how AWS services are built. For example, last year we covered how time sync service is built, and synchronization and time synchronization is a big thing in any cloud provider, especially such big like AWS. This year we talked a lot about how we build custom silicon around training for machine learning workloads. So a lot of cool stuff. Then there is a main keynote. The previous one is called Keynote Eve. but this one is main keynote when there's multitude of announcements and a lot of business content as well. But today, this year, we had actually not just the CEO of AWS presenting on stage, but we have a guest, a godfather of cloud computing, Andy Jassy. So someone who actually created originally AWS way earlier. And Andy presented as a CEO of Amazon. And he presented a lot of stuff around generative AI and new models. So this is one of the things that we would like to talk about today as well. Another keynote was about data and AI. Like the previous one didn't cover data and AI at all, obviously. But the truth is that this one was dedicated for data and AI. That was presented by Dr. Swami. And that was a lot of different announcements around analytics. So if you will compare categories this year, the biggest number of announcements is obviously AI, ML, generative AI, but right next to that category is analytics, just one announcement less. So that's a lot of different interesting announcements from the analytics category. Then there is one for partners. Dr. Ruba Borno presented the keynote for partner and AWS partner networks. This is pretty interesting for people that are working for companies that are inside the partner networks, like Tameshi, like EPAM. But this is heavy on the sales side, let's say it this way. And then re:Invent closes with the keynote by Dr. Werner Vogels, CTO of Amazon, another very great keynote that is oriented around software architecture, development. This year's themes was about simplicity, so how to build stuff that it's as simple as it should be and not complicated beyond the necessity. Very quickly going through all the summaries. This is 5 slides of overwhelming summaries just from the re:Invent. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different very dense slides with links. So let's go and let's do first poll. And if you have your phone, you can actually go to the QR code. And on the phone, you will see the first question we would like to ask you. What kind of announcements have you heard this year from re:Invent that you liked? Or which one are the most interesting for you? And they should be available live if you will write down as a word cloud. For you, what was the most interesting one?
I think, as you said, silicons, because this is something, well, I grown up as a person who is working in data center, right? So
hardcore hardware engineer.
Exactly. And second, we will go to that, so I will just use the abbreviation, the SQL.
Distributed SQL,
Yes,
Amazon
yes,
Aurora.
Yes.
That was one of the most interesting ones from the perspective of actually handling the distributed transactions in the world.
Yeah.
So, did someone posted something on the already?
Oh yes, there is.
Yeah, there is one, Aurora serverless. So this is actually what we are talking about DSQL. What else? Have you heard about something different than the DSQL? Who waited for new announcement for machine learning, for example?
No.
Oh, there's a lot of interesting ones. So
That's true.
S3 tables, Amazon Q, data analytics. Okay, so we have Anycast. Actually, this is pretty interesting that someone mentioned Anycast because this is pre-re:Invent, very hardcore niche announcement. Obviously, Bedrock. The keynote by Dr. Swami was full of announcement around Bedrock.
Yeah.
So let's go with another question. So which category should we tackle first when we will try to do? We are waiting for your guidance for which should we start. Let's do the voting. So you should use exactly the same survey. I will try to put out the QR code as well, so we can scan it once again, and we will see which category will be the best one to tackle. And as I told you, in terms of the number of announcements, obviously AI/ML is on the first one. Then there is the analytics. Right after that, it's storage and databases. And we have also a lot of announcements from developer tools management and governance as well. So far, we see that compute and containers are winning. Let's wait for a moment. Obviously, that won't be the only category we will cover. We will have in a moment another poll when we will decide about the order. So far, so good. All right. So it looks like the compute and containers are on top anyway, no matter how much we'll wait. So let's move actually and try to do what we promised. Not so many, at least it looks like not so many announcements. 13 announcements during the whole pre-reInvent and reInvent time, and just before reInvent we had 5 announcements. Very quickly about the cool ones from pre-reInvent. How many of you are using Amazon ECS? Hands. A lot, actually. Okay, so probably you heard that you can scale those services with auto-scaling policies on ECS. But there's additional thing that was announced this year about predictive scaling. So there's another scaling mechanism available that uses machine learning algorithms and tries to proactively detect the surges in traffic and proactively scales those for your needs and prepares you for that surge of traffic. Obviously, it requires a little bit of tuning. So there is a period when this algorithm is actually learning how those patterns are working in your case. But after that, if you have some kind of spiky but still a little bit cyclic pattern available, it should be able to detect this and properly scale ahead of time for that cyclic pattern to happen. And you can actually configure this without any additional cost. Only underlying resources are handled there. Another cool one for people that are working with EC2, I hope a lot of people would raise your hand if I will ask how many of you are using EC2 still, is something that is called future-dated capacity reservations. How many of you used something like capacity reservation in the past? Yeah, a few people. So before that announcement, you could do the capacity reservation just as an ad hoc thing. Like you could reserve it for a very just-in-time use cases. Now you can reserve this 120 days in advance. So if that will be approved by the team, your reservation and the ask for that reservation will be approved by that team, you'll have a guarantee that throughout this period up to the 220 days, your resources will be available for you in the data center. So this is a pretty cool way to prepare for yourself for big announcements, big marketing campaigns, Black Friday and whatnot. Obviously, with compute, we had some announcements around new instance types, but not so many as last year. That was a surprising one. A lot of announcements, actually all of those announcements are either around optimized storage or GPU-based instances. Not surprisingly, GPUs and everything around GPUs is very, very hot nowadays. And the biggest instances that were announced either based on H200 from NVIDIA or announced as coming soon for Blackwell architecture, those will be for training very big machine learning workloads and HPC computing. On the other hand, storage optimized is something that you are using for very demanding storages like your databases that you are storing on the EC2 instances or SAP HANA workloads, analytical workloads. And those are also getting a lot of updates. Coverage in terms of regions is, as usual, needs to be evaluated. In this particular case, as you can see, there are 2 regions, 6 regions, 3 regions. Not a very broad coverage, but at the same time, it always looks like this at the beginning and adds more after a while.
But still, with the new silicons, I can expect that new instances still will come.
Yeah, of course, I think so.
The time, so there will be even more of them. So that's for sure.
And Pawel has made a great point that one of that announcement is actually about a new family of, new version of the family of given instances, because very quickly, if you are not familiar with the naming convention, the first letter is telling you what type of instance it is. The number is telling you which version of that family is, and then you have some additional modifiers, let's call this. G stands for Graviton, which is ARM-based instance. IE is Intel Extreme Power. EN is for the NVIDIA and AFA, which is Elastic Fabric Adapter, high networking gear.
And what is also cool about reInvent, because you can almost touch these CPUs and this equipment. So in fact, you can see that there is actually a server behind serverless.
True. Pawel, would you like to add something about EKS?
Yeah, what is that? Okay, auto mode. So, right. So, how many of you are using EKS or alone or with Carpenter? Okay, so you already know that you can use Carpenter to also scale your machine, scale your cluster, and so on. But with auto mode, you also can have this possibility to not only create cluster, but like create everything what is around with storages, with all compute you need with one click, really. So it's almost like one click buy on Amazon.com, right? So you
But
click
almost.
almost. You click one button, and after some time, couple of minutes, couple of hours, depends, you have your complete cluster ready to work, ready to shine. So as I said, it's not only provisioning the instances like we have before, right? But everything what is behind, everything what you need to just start with your workloads, deploy your workloads, and start work with your application, really, right? Deploying your application.
Yeah, and for someone who is Kubernetes savvy, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but for some organizations when there is no such vast knowledge around Kubernetes, this is one of the very interesting alternatives. And another thing on top of what Pawel said, the one-click start is going also, and the delegation of responsibility is going also in the maintenance. So every single time when there will be patching, there will be scale ups, scale downs, and maintenance, general maintenance, this will be handled by the EKS service itself as well. So you are actually more or less buying something that is automatically managing not just the control plane, but also the data nodes for you as well.
You're removing this burden of administering the cluster, really, right?
Exactly, yes. And another announcement around EKS is around expanding the control plane to something that is outside of the AWS. So those hybrid nodes is actually a way to connect your own on-premises nodes to the EKS control plane without actually binding them in the first place. So you can have some infrastructure already that is Kubernetes compatible with a given version, that it's either on the edge or on premises. If you have a specific private connectivity available, it can be either VPN, direct connect, and some kind of way of bridging those worlds. You should be able to connect this through the EKS control plane and have those nodes available under the control plane of EKS.
And now the migration process is so complicated, right? After 5 minutes of hard work, I can move my workload from on-prem to AWS.
If you have Kubernetes on-premise, yes,
Yeah,
that's true. How many of you are using or fans of VMware? Yeah, not so many. So there is a lot of discussion around the new licensing mode and how this can be handled. And one of the ways how it can be done is actually Elastic VMware Service. This is a private preview at the moment, but for some companies that are evaluating the ability to elastically move the VM workloads, this is a life-changing thing.
Oh, definitely, especially when you think about migration of your workload from VMware on-prem or whatever to AWS. This is like a game-changing.
And the last one that we prepared as the featured announcement, that was actually the thing announced throughout the first keynote, because Peter DeSantis mentioned that there is a second generation of AWS Trainium processors. If you haven't heard about Trainium, this is custom silicon chips designed and developed by Amazon company called Annapurna Labs, and they are building those chips like Graviton, like Trainium, like Inferentia for AWS, for the data centers, for specific use cases. Trainium is designed to actually handle efficiently machine learning training operations and also inference nowadays, because Trainium 2 is designed for both. And it's extremely fast, much better than the previous iteration as well in terms of the inference, as I told you, because previously we had separately Trainium for version 1 Trainium for training, and there was AWS Inferentia for inference-based workloads. Inferentia stays, but nowadays Trainium 2 is handling those two as one.
And looks really cool in real life.
Yeah, because with the Trainium 2, as Pawel said, there is one additional cool thing released, and those Trainium 2 Ultra clusters. And I think one of those clusters was available in the Expo.
Yes.
That was a huge rack. This is like 64 chips, Trainium chips, with full networking, storages, all the control plane and data plane. I think it's 32 U's or something like this. So
Yeah.
essentially, it's a big rack that you can
Yeah.
order and you can have for your own training compute available as well.
I mean, it can act more or less as one, right? So this is the power of this.
Exactly.
this
This is a very good
solution.
point, because that's one of the things that is also announced with Trainium, which is available on the diagram, which is Neuron Core. And this is a way of connecting those chips together to act like one. Because as Pawel said, if you would like to parallelize the training of the huge models, this is not so much a parallelizable process in many cases. You can split it, you can have some kind of sped up from parallelization, but at the same time, you will need to reconnect and concat all the results again. So this is like very time-consuming process. And every optimization you can have on the transmission layer is actually a life-saving thing.
And there is also this elastic fabric adapter, if I remember correctly, right? Which connects all of this together, right?
Especially in ultra servers, it matters a lot. Yeah. Yes. And sorry. There was a version 3 release this year for that allows you for 3.2 terabits per second of transfer between. We do have honorable mentions for the compute category. So another update around ECS services for service versioning and deployment history. A few updates around EKS, around developer experience. And last but not least, Container Insights. So the CloudWatch add-on that allows you to give a bit more observability immediately after you will create your clusters on ECS.
But there will be more interesting, at least for me personally, insight soon, which we will tell about, right?
Yeah, there is one coming. We'll see which category we'll have next. Any questions regarding compute and containers? Yep. Yeah, exactly. We can try with the repeater. We're fine. Okay, let's go. So the second category that was selected by you was AI, ML, generative AI. So that's another hefty one.
And a lot of announcements.
A lot of announcements. A lot of interesting.
In fact,
things.
a lot of improvements of what we already have, right, as well.
I think the majority of the announcements were around improvements. That's correct. A few add-ons about new models, for example, but at the same time, a lot of improvements and service updates. And starting from the service updates, it is a very cool feature. It's called prompt optimization for Amazon Bedrock. Essentially, there is a mechanism that allows you to automatically rewrite your prompts to be better. And it sounds like not magic, but it sounds like scam or something that it's not exactly a worthwhile thing. But actually, I have a very quick demo for you. So I selected Claude 3 as my main model, and I'm trying to generate summary of this particular announcement. And my prompt is not so nice. Please summarize the announcement provided below by these slide deck notes. That's it. So when I will generate the result with a given input, I get more or less garbage in, garbage out. If the prompt is bad, I will have a poor result. So now I can ask Bedrock, okay, so can you tell me how to write this prompt in a much better way? It generates for me a new variant of that prompt, and now I can compare the differences. Okay, so now I see that for the same model, it generated much better, much more refined prompt with a lot of instructions, details, even some kind of tags to allow me insert my content and the summary outside. So when I will do the test, the result is much better. And it does it automatically for me based on the what I put and how the mechanism works. If you heard about model distillation and student and teacher approach, this is essentially a variant of that mechanism. So there is one model which is a teacher and one model which is a student having exactly the same conversation around your prompt. So there is a starting point and then there is another iteration with the student-teacher mental model that iterates over your prompt, and then quality of the final one is dependent on how many iterations you will have.
Yeah, so how many of you just asked ChatGPT to create a prompt about something and then send this prompt to ChatGPT again? But now you can do it in the better way, right? Because as you said, this teacher-student model, right?
Yes. Another update for Bedrock again is something that's Amazon Bedrock Flow. It was called Prompt Flow back then, but it wasn't as rich as it was right now. This is essentially a way of creating those complicated prompt sequences that you are having to build some kind of no-code, low-code applications with with generative AI. And one additional announcement was around enhanced security, because now you can add guardrails to those given blocks. So now you can make sure that if you are getting an output from a given result, you can make sure that it will be factually correct, and it will use Bedrock guardrails to this. And another thing was around traceability and debugging. But leaving that was still pre-reinvent time. Throughout the pre-reinvent time, there was very interesting announcement for all people that used SageMaker and suffered from a very problematic thing that by default, outside of the SageMaker serverless inference, you couldn't scale to 0 with SageMaker. Now you can, and finally you are able to scale to 0. Obviously, there is a downside of that. That means that if you will scale down to 0, there will be some kind of cold start required after all. But at the same time, for development purposes, for development endpoints, testing endpoints, this is a very useful thing to save money on. A lot of announcements around Q Business and around Q in general, Q Developer, Q Business, add-ons, and presence Q, omnipotent presence Q of the Q in the console. If you are using Q Business, you probably are familiar with something which is called Q Apps, which is a repository that you can have in your organization to share internally those applications. So now you can actually collect data through those applications properly and in a secure way. You can also share those apps privately inside an organization as well. There are some add-ons for Q Business like the browser integration and other elements like connectors, integrators with different services. That was pre-reinvent, and on the reinvent throughout the keynotes, we also got a lot of different announcements for the Q Business. One was obviously integration and very close integration with Slack, Microsoft Teams, and other communicators. So now you can have Q Business as an assistant available in the communicators, and you can have the same version that you will have in the web browser or through the web interface available throughout the instant messaging. But another very cool thing that was announced as a coming soon, not publicly preview even, but coming soon, was something that is called workflow automation capability. So how many of you are having some kind of manual processes in your organizations that you need to do, like filling out the paperwork, any kind of stuff? I guess everyone will raise your hand.
At least it should.
At least it should. So workflow automation capability is actually a way of automating all of that stuff with the legacy systems throughout the Q Business. So there will be a ways and hooks to actually automate stuff with the legacy systems, to connect those stuff, to write down and integrate. And obviously you will be able to build multiple, as you see, those kind of state machines and multiple flows coming from the integration perspective.
And this also can be a game changer for many companies, for many processes.
Especially if you would like to do such stuff like automation of claims or doing the timesheets and and other stuff. So another important announcement was around the Q index. So now Amazon Q Business is also allowing you to expose data through the independent software vendors. So this is not so big from the perspective of the end users, but it will be when more and more companies will actually integrate with Q. And that was already available, partially available through announced integrations. So team announced that there is an integration with Smartsheets, with Asana, and many, many other tools. And this is the effect of actually exposing those Q indexes to those vendors. A lot of updates around Amazon Bedrock.
Oh, yeah. Big section about this.
Big section about this, exactly. So finally, we have something which is called RAG evaluation. Many of you heard about it or used custom frameworks, open source framework for doing RAG evaluation. By default now, knowledge bases are supporting this for Bedrock. There is another mechanism for evaluating those RAG responses, which is using LLM as a judge. How many of you heard about LLM as a judge thing? So very quickly, every single time that you are doing RAG evaluation, you are trying to select, you are trying to assess the quality of the return response from your retrieve and augmented generative workflows. And every single time that you are evaluating this, you need either a machine learning algorithm to assess the quality or human force to actually do it. And there is another way to do it, and many companies are doing this when they are using other bigger models or better models for evaluating this as a judge. And now there is a fully managed way to handle this with the knowledge evaluation on the Bedrock side as well. A lot of custom connectors and streaming and ability to re-rank the results as well for RAG. And another cool announcement for Bedrock was something called model distillation. So again, we are returning to this teacher and student mechanism. So many of you know that we have large language models with billions of parameters, which are sometimes requiring a lot of compute. They are expensive. But at the same time, if you be very specific with the prompting and with the RAG and all the context that you will provide, you may have better results with smaller models. Ergo, it will be cheaper, it will be faster, and much more maintainable.
Or simply you don't need the full model, right?
Exactly, or simply you don't need the full model. So this particular distillation mechanism means that you are having a very big model and you are preparing a data set that will be in this case, synthesized from this particular context you are trying to build. And with this constant back and forth approach between teacher and student, you are teaching a smaller model and giving that model expertise based on the teacher, based on the bigger model. And as a result, you get a smaller model which is a bit more specialized. It's not requiring as much compute as the big one. And as a result, you see exactly the same benefits as you will see from knowledge transfer, from transfer learning, as you will see with the fine-tuning. But now you are going not from the same model and data to the same model, but that is fine-tuned. You are going from a bigger model to smaller model that is much more specialized. Another one around Bedrock, a very interesting one. How many of you are dealing with hallucinations of the LLMs when you are dealing with ChatGPT, with the Copilot and everybody else? So hallucinations are the big thing, and all models are actually having issues with those. No matter if you will choose the best ones or not, eventually you will face some kind of hallucination because that's the nature of the LLM and how it works. However, there are some ways to do safeguarding around this. One of the proposals from the AWS side was something that was called Bedrock Guide Rails, which is essentially a rule-based mechanism to filter out hateful speech, harmful content, and everything that shouldn't be presented to the final users. So if you are building a chatbot, you can write down or use the predefined rule sets and secure yourself from exposing that harmful content. Also, you can write your own custom rules and make sure that this returns factual content. But when you are writing those custom rules, there is a problem. How are you making sure that those rules are catching everything that should be catched and they are correct and you don't have to worry about the correctness? And that was an unsolved problem. But with the announcement that is called automated reasoning for Bedrock guardrails, there is a way to actually write those rules and use the mathematical sound and proof checking mechanisms to make sure that those rules will be compiled and enforced in a safe way. And it sounds very, very abstract, but in this particular case, you are writing down this kind of automated reasoning rule, and you are specifying that the name change is allowed only if and only if when the changes are allowed to submissions is valid. Submissions is valid if there is one email. Changes allowed only if there is a time limit available. And also you are specifying those variables that are inside those rules, like allowed airlines, allowed changes, change method, change time limit. Essentially, you are writing down a much more refined guardrail in terms of rule-based system. And thanks that you are using those provided mechanisms for that, on AWS side, on the backend, there is an automated reasoning process checking that all of those rules are either filled properly or this should be removed as a hallucination because it's not compliant with the rule-based system. So this is a very cool mechanism that allows you to, with the mathematical correctness, check all the rules and prevent the hallucinations from the models.
When this was presented during the reInvent, I had a thought in my mind that finally AI is going from the hype phase to let's make it usable, let's make it like really viable product, right? So something what you can really use in your production workloads. And you need to know more about how AI really works. Right?
Yeah, and also it sounds like something that is very useful and at the same time requires a bit more domain knowledge and specialized knowledge that you need to apply to. So it's not the magic. Like if you have a specific domain knowledge around, in this particular case, rebooking of the tickets for airlines, you will be able to provide as a domain expert that knowledge to make sure that this automated reasoning checks will be sound and proved correctly. But that will require your domain knowledge to be in place. And it reminds a little bit of rule-based programming and all of that you are probably learned either in school or worked with the rule-based systems in your work. Let's skip to the demo part because we have one more announcement that is around explanation around the how nowadays we can have multi-agent collaboration in Bedrock. And this is kind of self-explanatory. It's a very cool feature, but at the same time, it's available in preview. I don't have any demo prepared for this.
And Oleg already mentioned a little bit scenario
of multi-agent collaboration as well, yes.
In the demo.
Correct. So I would like to show you something different. That was a very interesting, a very expected announcement. So when Amazon actually announced Bedrock last year, we announced that there are a limited set of models available, Anthropic, Meta, and so on. And obviously we expanded over time. But everybody waited for ability to have a much broader choice of those models because Amazon always advertised that there's no one model to rule them all. And finally, there is a marketplace for Amazon Bedrock, which gives you a very interesting opportunities. So I'm in the Frankfurt region, so nothing fancy in terms of like US-based models. But I already have a lot of different models available in the marketplace. So as you can see, a lot of different providers, including such specific ones like the audio models or text or vision models, even Whisper, which wasn't available on the Bedrock previously. You can also have a specific Meta or Anthropic-based models which are not available on Bedrock in a given region, but they are available through Marketplace. You can also evaluate not just the large language models that are having the typical modalities you will expect, but also you can have very specialized models. For example, there's an ESM3 model, which is a large language model for detecting protein sequences. So it's as niche as this. And then from there, you can actually go and deploy those models on Amazon Bedrock and use as you will use with the regular endpoints. So as you can expect, this will grow and more providers will appear in that. So this is a very, very interesting and cool announcement, especially for all those companies that are building right now those models and providing them as the services. And also for you as users, because it will give you a lot of choice around and ability to handle this. And choice, actually model choice, gives us opportunity to talk about a new family of models provided by Amazon. So that was that announcement that Andy Jassy in the Matt Garman's keynote mentioned, that we as Amazon provide a new family state-of-the-art foundation models. And there are 3 models available right now, and they are generally available already in many regions. I think 3 regions, including 1 European one, which is Amazon Nova Micro, Lite, and Pro. There is one additional called Premier, which will be coming soon. And there are also 2 different models, because those are textual ones. There are 2 different models, which are, one is for text, one is for image, and one is for video generation. One is called Real, and another one is Nova Canvas.
And what is also interesting, that we know those models like speech to, I don't know, video or video to something. Now maybe not now, but soon, we will have any-to-any. So you can have whatever in front and what you want on the end, you will have it. Right?
Yeah, Pawel is right. That wasn't announced as an available thing, but Andy mentioned that there is a plan to provide any-to-any model in 2025. That will be from the Amazon Nova family.
Yeah.
And those models are already available in the Bedrock console. So if you will go to Amazon Bedrock in your given region, for example, I have North Virginia here, you will go to the model access and go to the Amazon family. You will see that Nova Pro, Lite, Micro, and Canvas is available, and there is also Nova Real buried here. And this Nova Real model is for video generation, and as name suggests, Micro, Lite, and Pro are bigger and bigger text-based models, and Canvas is the image generation model. So in addition to Titan models, you also have a Nova family of models. And speaking about the Nova model, let's see if my model generated the video reel for me. So I prepared a very short script in Python, which is essentially using the Bedrock API through Pawel. I'm specifying the destination bucket, AWS region, and model ID. I'm providing the input image path, which is like cover image for my video. And this is essentially a landscape image. And then I'm telling the Nova Real, let's generate a drone view flying over a coastal landscape based on that landscape PNG that I provided you. So obviously there's a lot of boilerplate because I need to read the image, encode it in base 64. I need to prepare the input, which is a Bedrock API call. And then I'm going start async invoke for the Nova Real. And this is one of the first changes that you probably noticed if you are working with Bedrock, because usually async, the invocation was like request response basis. For video generation, it's like more async thing. So you need to schedule a job, wait for the result, and then based on the manifest, you can read if that will be ready or not. So I'm getting the invocation ARN, which is the Amazon Resource Identifier, and I'm polling if that is ready and available for me. And in the console, I should see that, yeah, video is ready and available here. So there is an output, which I should have available here. And hopefully I will be able to show you. It's like 7 megs, so it's MP4. It's 6 seconds long, so it's not long at the moment, but at the same time,
I think it was announced that soon it will be 2 minutes, right?
Yes. So at the moment it generates 6 seconds, but it will be available up to 2 minutes. So this is a generated model, 6 seconds generated video based on my prompt. That's one of the ways how you can handle the new family of models. Another one is, as I mentioned, through the Bedrock. And one cool thing which is available for those bigger models, for Nova Pro, for example, is that you can ask this model to describe you a video. And let's use the video and ask Nova to actually describe it to me. Describe the video footage for me. And this is like a regular thing that you can do through the Bedrock console. So the video starts with an aerial view of rocky coastline showing the vast ocean and the choppy waves. The scene then transitions to a close-up shot of large seashell lying on the sandy beach when the sun rays illuminating the scene. So let's check if that's correct, because I showed you the result and the description, but here is the sample landscape. You can actually compare it with the generated one, because this one is generated. So yeah, we see some kind of coastal line, and there is a seashell on the sandy beach. So it correctly described the video for us. And the same goes with the images and with other tasks as well, would you expect from the large language model. So those Nova models are available on Amazon Bedrock through the API or through the playground. If you used PartyRock in the past to experiment and build your own applications, you can also use those Nova models inside PartyRock now as well, because PartyRock was extended after they announced the models as well. So there's another way to play with those models as well. Any questions? Yeah, sure.
Hey, do you hear me?
Yes.
Nice. So I'm Valentin. Nice to meet and hear you. Simple question about the Bedrock marketplace. Yep, just imagine I'm a customer, a very stupid customer. I don't know anything. Yep, zero knowledge about difference in models. Yep. I just didn't catch. Are there any possibilities to sort out? Yeah, for example, for myself, what the model is the best fit for my purposes. Like I see the list, text. Yeah, for the some models, generation video for others models, but probably there are some comparison for the prices. Yeah, for the other stuff. Yep, anything details to help me choose the best suitable model for me. Yep, and fit to my project, for example.
That's a very
simple question.
That's a very simple question on the surface, but actually that's a very loaded one to explain, and loaded because if you are starting and you have no knowledge around the LLMs and you are starting with those, I would say that that's when you are looking in those models which were available on Bedrock as the previously only, because those are vetted, validated, and they will be, there is a quality behind them, there is a test checks and a lot of groundwork done already by the Bedrock team. Marketplace, on the other hand, is a place for much more LLM savvy, generative AI savvy users, which are able to compare those differences. Maybe they are having very specific use cases and needs, and they are able to determine that, okay, so maybe we'll be able to pay a little bit less for this model, but it will give us, after the specific RAG and context injection, it will give us the quality we need because it's simpler, or it provides us different, something different that it's not available in other models, like language support. This is one of the use cases why Bedrock is so popular in places where language support is not covered by those big models. Polish is not a good is a good example actually, because in many cases, if you will take Claude for example, it works, but sometimes it's quirky, and maybe in a few weeks or few months we will have a specific Polish large language model available in Bedrock Marketplace. So I would say that the marketplace is for those companies and organizations which are having knowledge already and they know what they want. That will be easier for them to manage. If you are starting to experiment, I would choose those vetted models because that will be the easier way for you to obtain the quality results.
In other words, description of the model is not enough, really, because this is like a basic description, basic information, what is there, right? But you have to, well, I know how it sounds, but you have to know what you are choosing, right?
I will compare that. There's a very valid point about the description. I will compare the same situation to Hugging Face. On Hugging Face, you have plethora of different models. Everything is available for you, but it's on you to evaluate if that's something that you need, if that will work for you, and quality is there, and so on.
Yep, you know, just yep. Do you hear me? Okay, nice. So here the one point, yep, for me mostly about that just minimize the time for the choosing, yep. Just imagine I almost know, yep, but then we know 50 more models, yep, and for me the generative AI savvy means that I need to dive deeper into 50 models, yep, to understand is it fit my purposes or not. Yep, just probably Amazon Q will be implemented here just to help me with the choosing the appropriate model, suitable, yep, let's say model for me. Yep, that's next step probably. I don't know, but okay. In general, yep, I got your point. So
yeah, it's a very good point. I think another different direction that it could take is the implementing of some kind of likes and favorites based on the preferences. But again, this will require expansion around the concept of the Bedrock marketplace. At the moment, it's unfortunately on you. And that's a very valid point that if you have more models, you will have more work to evaluate them.
as it is,
Yep.
it is.
Any other questions? Yep.
This Amazon Nova model, is it meant to replace Titan, or does it just have some other features that Titan doesn't have?
Very good question. So it's if you compare the Titan text languages to the Lite Pro and Nova for Nova, there will be some overlap. But Titan is, for example, in many cases you can use it for different use cases. For example, for RAG specification, it's very good. The same goes with embedding models. At the moment, Nova doesn't have any embedding generation models, so I wouldn't say that it will replace Titan family of models. I would say that it expands that on top of that. You already have in Titan, you can have Nova as well as a different choice. So for example, Titan embeddings, I don't think they will go anywhere. For the Titan text, I would say the Lite is still comparable in terms of price, and in some cases it may be even cheaper for Nova. So it will be something that needs to be evaluated in terms of the quality. So it is an expansion. All right, any other questions? So very quickly around this particular enhancement. This is something that it was one of the most asked questions and problems that customers want to solve. So I have multiple models and I would like to choose the best one based on the quality, based on the cost. I would like to intelligently route between those models. And another thing was how I can implement the caching to actually save money, to not send the same prompts back and forth and spare token and burn tokens. So both of those things are actually added in preview to Amazon Bedrock. Those are public previews, so you can already test them. And intelligent prompt routing works like you see on the screenshot. So you are choosing the family of models. So you can choose Anthropic prompt router or the Meta. And based on that, it will choose either a bigger or smaller models, depending on your preferences. And for caching, it works as you would expect. Essentially, it caches the tokens that are going in and out and allows you to save up to 90% in terms of latency. 90% in terms of costs and 85% in terms of latency for the Bedrock.
It's quite cool, anyway, because this helps you a lot to, let's say, select the proper model in the automated, hidden way for you, right? So
Yeah, alternative would be to put this routing mechanism in your application. And it's like trade-off. If you would like to do it on your application side, why not? Let's do it. If you would like to offload it to the backend and just use the best possible model based on the prompt, based on the task that was sent, yeah, we can use the intelligent routing.
but again, if you put it in the application, how you will create the logic, how you will maintain this logic, what will be the decision points to direct your prompt here or there, right? So you have everything here already. So that's this is what Werner really said about simplicity.
Yes, and also that's a very good segue to this keynote, because outside of the simplicity, there was also a mention that cloud providers are getting the burden of complexity on themselves, exposing something simpler for the customers.
Yeah.
So this is a very good point. Okay, so these are the list of the honorable mentions from the category of generative AI ML. Anton already signed me that we have 5 minutes to finish. So I would like to present a quick fire round. I will choose 2 announcements very quickly, and you will go with 2 announcements very quickly, and we will wrap up. So you have a handicap. You can think about those announcements, unless I will steal them from Pawel. So I would like to tell about 2. So first one is on the analytics side. And we are talking about SageMaker Lakehouse. So probably many of you heard about the data lakes, about data warehouses, and another iteration of the architectures around data is architecture of Lakehouse, which is a combination of bringing both worlds and having the best of data warehouses and data lakes together. This was available for you thanks to the open source landscape like Apache Iceberg that builds on top of Apache Parquet. So there's a lot of open source groundwork already done because of that. But in terms of the fully managed way how it's handled, it's not so simple, and in many cases, like compaction of those Parquet files, automating of the removal of the obsolete files, and so on, everything is a bit of problematic. So SageMaker Lakehouse is the fully managed way of handling the Apache Iceberg open source format on top of the Amazon S3 and Amazon Redshift managed storage. For Amazon S3, we are using Amazon S3 tables, and this is the second announcement I would like to mention, which is a specific bucket type available in S3, which is designed to handle Apache Iceberg in a very efficient way. So we are actually having a specific bucket for Apache Iceberg, which is a base for the Lakehouse in SageMaker. And why SageMaker? It's because actually there is something that is the next generation of Amazon SageMaker. So the old SageMaker stays, and it's called Amazon SageMaker AI, but new analytics platform, which will be a unified platform across the big data transformations, machine learning, generative AI, and storage, it's called Amazon SageMaker Unified Platform. So Amazon SageMaker Lakehouse nowadays is a foundation for that unified platform. And back to you.
Right, so you can find the SQL, as you could expect. So how many of you are using Aurora in multi-region, in active mode? None of you, right? And that's right, because it was impossible. But now, in way you can, because distributed Aurora DSQL gives you exactly that, like a DynamoDB global tables, but for the relational databases. So you have Postgres, which is distributed and works in active mode, really. So you can have 2 applications in 2 regions. You can write in one region, you can write in the second region, and you have data in both of them in almost the same time, right? So it's still in the private preview, I think, right?
It's public preview.
I play a public preview. I had the chance to play with that during the workshops. It works very nicely. This workshop will be available, I think, soon, but please be careful with that because, you know, the money. But Still, it will be in the preview for some time, I think, because everything must be properly done there, and also there are some small hiccups, like you, for example, put the record into database, you have an error, you do this operation once again, you don't have this error, nothing else is happening, but this is like a childhood problems. Which will be soon solved. So I'm really waiting for this, to see this in the proper action, because we have solutions like for, I don't know, Cockroach or Yuga by DB, but here we have fully managed by AWS database, which we can just use in as many regions we want. Right now in free, I think, but soon is as many we really want, and that's really cool. And the second thing, I thought about this S3 tables, but now you. There was one about Lambda with .NET. I think. Yes. So how many of you are suffering from the cold start? So happy. As you know, in time, AWS improved a lot in terms of cold start, right? So this cold start is smaller, and now we have also the snap start for .NET and also the Python. So it means that the startup performance, when you have this function so cold, right, is much faster, because what is like below, you can explain this, I think, in more details, but what is below the function you have is prepared in advance. This is the part which is very important. This cold start, which is not related to what we do in our code, right? This cold start, which is the AWS responsibility. This part is shortened, right? So if you write your function in bad way, you still will have a huge cold start. I'm sorry, but this part, which we cannot touch really, is improved a lot with this snap start.
Yeah, I would say that even if you will write your code badly, for the startup reasons, you will have a lot of savings with snap start enabled. I'm not encouraging you to write not performant code, but at the same time, the snap start idea is, as Pawel said, you are snapshotting the environment, and every single time that you are trying to get environment after the time it was essentially put down and not resumed, you are getting a snapshot, not the
actual
new
installing
one.
everything
Exactly.
and so on and so on.
So you are not waiting for the full cold start and startup cycle, but you are resuming this from the snapshot. This will require, in some cases, hooks in the environments, and that's why it was so hard to do it for first time in Java, because in Java and JVM, you need to do a lot of movements to make sure that you are restoring properly a state of the JVM. But when the groundwork was done and the Firecracker VM, which is the runtime environment for Lambda, was already prepared for Java, adding this for .NET and Python and maybe possible other languages in future will be much easier with the same idea. So right now we have also support for .NET and Python in addition to Java.
So even if it was like surprising that AWS started with Java, there is a reason behind it, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so to sum up, we would like to ask you for two things. So I've already mentioned to you that we covered like maybe 30% of the deck.
Or less.
Or less. I didn't want to say that we did so poor job.
And
but
the deck covers 50% of all announcements.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. So what I wanted to, if the PowerPoint allows me, because it broke, because this deck is so hefty. So if PowerPoint allows me, oh yeah. So how you can obtain this deck? At the moment, it's not available yet, but you can already prepare yourself. If you don't have AWS Builder ID account, which is essentially a unified single sign-on for many different platforms that are available on AWS, for community.aws, for training and certification, for repost and others, you can create your own Builder ID, reserve your nickname, and I will tweet when this deck will be available for download with the ability to sign up through the Builder ID. So already we'll have the Builder ID available, and from there you should be able to download the deck in the PDF format and have all the announcements including those which we didn't cover today because we have just 1 hour. If you want to scan this QR code, it will be available for a brief moment. If not, one final ask from me and final QR code, I promise. Please complete the session survey for us to how we can improve. How did you like the presentation? And we will be available, staying here for questions, maybe to cover something else that we didn't cover right now. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for being here, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Wojciech, thanks Pawel. And we have a couple more things to finish today's meetup. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who watching us online, and we probably finished the online streaming. Yeah, hopefully next year we'll have even more great events. So thank you guys. And for the offline audience, I have 2 things. First thing, for sure, pizza is already arrived, but we need to draw some credits and some prizes from our sponsor, Tameshi. Pawel,
Yep.
Do you want to reward someone with the questions, let's say, which you received from the audience?
Yeah, so we have this beautiful thing, whatever it is. I know what is inside, a couple of things, interesting things. So this will go to someone who will answer to my very complicated question. So which announcement from what we covered today is the most interesting for you, but why? Yeah.
DSQL.
Why?
Why? Because it solves a lot of problems that have been on the market for quite some time already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually very anticipated and one of the most important in many ways.
Okay.
I think so, and I've seen a lot of people in the internet think so as well, especially professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this one. Apart from all the AI hype, this is one of the most important.
Okay, cool. You are the second, yeah?